Tonight we are looking at 3 horrifying caving stories that went horribly wrong. In South Dakota, one nudge of a boot spends 3 cavers' light. In Georgia, a rack eats a lock of hair 90 meters up. And in New Mexico, the ceiling moves 2 centimeters. Each story starts with confidence and ends in chaos. As always, viewer discretion is advised. This is Cavern Depths. 3 real caves. 3 stories that went wrong. The first one begins now. On March 14th, 2026, Dana Kettler led the Reeves brothers into Wind Cave, one of the longest and most tangled caves on Earth. 240 kilometers of dry boxwork maze folded under 1 square mile of South Dakota prairie. The cave breathes through its one small entrance. The dark inside it is total. They were pushing a survey lead 6 hours from the entrance. A 14-hour round trip through passage stacked on passage like dry honeycomb. Dana was 42, a survey leader who had mapped this cave for 11 years and who baked the same lemon cake for the survey van on every trip, by tradition, since her first. Cole and Ben Reeves were 32 and 30, brothers from Rapid City, the young legs of the team, the ones who had promised their mother they would always cave together or not at all. The team habit was the light budget. 3 lights per caver, 40 hours of battery life across the 9, counted into 1 shared bag on every trip. Light, Dana taught her surveyors, is the only supply in a dry cave you cannot stretch by being tough. Wind Cave's floors are honest rock, but they are not always floors. What they didn't know: the ledge where they always staged their packs had a new crack at its base. A boot-width fissure dropping 12 meters into a lower level no survey has ever entered. The trip in ran clean. Boots scraping dry stone, the laser clicking station to station, boxwork fins ringing faintly where a helmet brushed them. Nothing went wrong on the way in, because on the way in the habit still held. They reached the lead at hour 6, on schedule, 100 meters below the prairie. What they didn't know: the battery bag had been set down on the cracked ledge, 1 boot width from a hole the beam had never found. At the turnaround, that is when the staging failed, because Ben's boot nudged the bag as he shouldered his pack, and the fissure took it, and they listened to every spare battery they owned rattle 12 meters down into a slot no shoulder would ever fit. 3 headlamps burning since morning. No spares. 6 hours of maze between them and the sky. Here is what you need to understand about darkness in a deep cave. It is not the dark of a bedroom or a field at night. It is total. It does not soften as your eyes adjust. And a caver without light does not walk out of a maze, ever. They sit down and they wait, and the cave decides the schedule. A caver budgets light like oxygen. The fissure had just spent 2/3 of the budget. Panic lives at the edge of a dying beam. The spares were gone. The budget had failed. 9 lights were 3. Cole's lamp was already amber. Because this is the arithmetic of a light budget. 3 part-drained lamps held maybe 7 hours of honest beam. The exit needed 6, and every wrong junction in a maze bills the light twice. Watch a survey leader spend darkness like money. 1 lamp burning at a time, the owner walking point, the other 2 cavers a hand on a shoulder behind. Brightest lamp saved for last. Junctions called from the survey notes before the beam ever swung. Every named station they passed was read out loud and ticked in the notebook, because in a maze the notebook is a second light, and it never dims. Put yourself in that single file for 1 minute of it. A stranger's shoulder under your hand, 1 beam swinging somewhere ahead of you, your own lamp dead in your pocket, and the arithmetic of junctions left against light left running the whole time behind your eyes. Cole's lamp died at hour 3 of the exit. Dana's died at the foot of the last climbs, 1 hour out. Ben's lamp, the brightest, saved for exactly this, carried all 3 of them up the boxwork corridors on its last third of charge, 1 pool of yellow light with 6 boots inside it. They stepped out into the prairie dusk 14.5 hours after they went in, 30 minutes behind schedule, with 1 working lamp left between 3 cavers, blinking low. The other 8 had died along the way. The park's report recorded a lost battery cache. A team self-extracted from 6 hours deep on light discipline, and no injuries. The staging ledge is flagged now, and the battery rule changed in one word. Bags, plural, split between cavers. One of the longest caves on Earth still breathes through its one small door, and somewhere 12 meters under a flagged ledge sits a bag of batteries no shoulder will ever reach. Light is the only supply you cannot stretch by being tough, Dana still tells her surveyors. So what walked them out? One beam at a time, a notebook that never dims, and the lamp they were disciplined enough not to burn first. The report recorded 14 hours. All 3 survived every one of them. You're watching Cavern Depths, and this is the second story of the night. On April 4th, 2026, Jess Calloway clipped her rack to the rope above Fantastic Pit, the deepest cave pit in the eastern United States. 179 meters of free-hanging rope in a room so tall the floor returns no echo. A dropped rock falls for 6 seconds. A caver rappels for 4 minutes. She was third of 3 on the classic through trip. Rig the pit, rappel to the floor, cross the mountain underground, and climb out the far side by evening. Jess was 27, a vertical caver from Chattanooga with a small frame and 5 years of pits behind her. The one who had trained on this exact drop with her mentor and still texted her mother the rigging photo before every trip. Her habit was the tuck check. Hood up, hair braided and stuffed down the collar, chest strap clear, one gloved sweep past her chin before every weight transfer. A rack, her mentor taught her, is a machine that eats whatever reaches it and reads no intentions. The rig was textbook: fresh rope, clean rack, 6 bars. What she didn't know, the morning's crawl to the pit head had dragged her braid loose under the hood, and one long lock of it now hung free at her collar, a hand's width above the machine. The first 90 meters ran like a hymn, the rope hissing through 6 bars, the rack ticking as it warmed, her light the only moving star in the black. Nothing went wrong on the upper rope, because on the upper rope she was still moving smooth and slow. She passed the halfway knot mark on schedule, 90 meters of air below her boots. What she didn't know, each small bounce had walked the loose lock closer to the bars. 2 body lengths past the halfway mark, that is when the tuck check failed her, because a draft off the waterfall shaft lifted the loose lock forward, and the top bar took it, and the rack wound hair and rope together and stopped her dead. Her head snapped down to the machine, her scalp lit up like a struck bell. The rack sat locked an inch from her cheek, and 90 meters of empty dark hung under her boots. She tried half an inch of rope. The bar wound her cheek closer. She stopped trading. Here is what you need to understand about hair in a descender. It does not cut itself free, and it does not slip out backward. The machine winds it tighter with every centimeter of rope, and the only directions that exist on a jammed rack are further in, or scissors. A caver checks the tuck at the pit head. The pit checks it again halfway down. Panic lives an inch from a jammed rack. The descent had failed. Her head was bound. Her hands still worked. The floor was 4 minutes down and might as well have been a week. Because this is the arithmetic of a mid-rope jam. A harness holds a resting caver for hours, but a caver bent forward against her own scalp does not rest, and pulling grip fatigue arrives in minutes, not hours. Watch 5 years of drills come due in the dark. First, she locked off. 2 wraps, the rack tied dead to the rope, exactly the move her mentor made her repeat until it bored her. Both hands were now free, and the machine could wind nothing more. Second, the trauma shears came off her chest strap on their tether, the tether she had once called paranoid, and she cut toward her own face by feel, a few strands a stroke, 2 seconds of breath between strokes, her forearms burning at 8 minutes in. Put yourself on that rope for 1 minute of it. Your cheek held against warm metal, scissors working blind an inch from your eye, a voice from the floor counting your own breathing back up to you, and 90 meters of nothing pulling patiently on everything you cut free. It took 11 minutes and cost a lock of hair the length of her forearm. The rack came free with a click she felt through her teeth. She unlocked, breathed twice, and rappelled the last 90 meters slower than anything in her life. Hood up, chin tucked. Her boots found the floor 4 minutes late. Her partners said nothing about the hair. The three crossed the mountain and climbed into the evening on schedule. The club log recorded a caver trapped mid-rope at the halfway mark, self-rescued by lock-off and shears in 11 minutes. No injuries beyond a raw scalp, and one underlined line. The tether on the shears is not paranoid. The deepest pit in the eastern United States still drops its 6 silent seconds of stone. A rack is a machine that eats whatever reaches it, her mentor still teaches. So what handed her back? A lock-off drilled past boredom, scissors that could not be dropped, and the discipline to cut slow an inch from her own eye. The report recorded 11 minutes. Jess survived every one of them, both hands free.
You're watching Cavern Depths, and tonight's final story is the one they still talk about. On October 17th, 2025, Ray Mercer shouldered his pack at the gated entrance of Lechuguilla, the deepest limestone cave in the lower 48 and one of the longest on Earth. A locked country of gypsum chandeliers and cold, dry passage. The permit list is shorter than a school register. The cave does not care who is on it. He was lead surveyor on a 5-day camp expedition, pushing a low lead off the western maze, 3 days of travel and survey from the sun. Ray was 41, a stocky, methodical surveyor from Albuquerque who had mapped caves in the Guadalupes for 16 years, and who carved a small wooden bird for his wife after every expedition, one for every trip, a shelf of them. His habit was the ceiling read. Before entering any crawl, lamp along the roof line, looking for the fresh, pale scars that mean rock has moved lately. Old breakdown, he taught his teams, is furniture. It is the young scars that are still deciding. The lead ran as a body-height crawl under a ceiling of stacked slabs, dry as paper, silent as a vault. What he didn't know, an earthquake swarm 200 kilometers away had passed through the bedrock that spring, and one slab above the crawl now rested on a knuckle of gypsum that the tremors had already half crushed. The first 2 days ran clean, stations ticking forward, the laser clicking, his knee pads scraping soft gypsum sand, camp coffee hissing on the little stove each evening. Nothing went wrong in the crawl on the way in, because on the way in he read the ceiling, and the ceiling read as old. On day 3 he was 290 meters down, on schedule, mapping the crawl's far end with his partner a body length behind. What he didn't know, the gypsum knuckle above Station 41 had finished deciding. Half a body past Station 41, that is when the ceiling failed, because the crushed knuckle let go without a sound worth hearing, and the slab above him settled 2 centimeters, and 2 centimeters of settling limestone met the chest of the man beneath it. There was no roar. There was a thud he felt more than heard, a cough of gypsum dust, and then the crawl was quiet again, and Ray Mercer could not fill his lungs. Here is what you need to understand about a settled slab. It is not a boulder you might roll away. It is the ceiling itself, tons wide and tons patient, and it does not need to fall to kill. 2 centimeters of lean against a rib cage is enough, taken slowly, like a hand closing. A surveyor reads the ceiling for young scars. The newest scar is not visible until it moves. Panic arrived 1 body length back. The ceiling had failed. Ray was pinned at the chest. His partner could touch his boot. 3 days of cave stood between them and any help alive. Because this is the arithmetic of a chest under stone. Breath comes in sips. Sips are not enough for long, and the strongest partner in the world cannot lift a ceiling. Watch the system do everything it still could. His partner jammed the survey tripod and both packs under the slab's lip, not to lift it, but to swear at it. This far, no further. He held Ray's hand through the dust and talked to him, and the talking mattered longer than the tripod did. Then he crawled backward out of the lead, marked the station, and began the 3-day run for the surface with 60 meters of survey line paying out behind him like a promise to come back. Put yourself in that backward crawl for 1 minute of it. A hand you have just let go of, a run you cannot make faster than the map allows, and the arithmetic of sips of breath against 72 hours of distance, already answered, already known.
The call-out ran perfectly. 40 cavers, 2 heading teams, hydraulic jacks hauled 3 days inward through squeezes never built for stretchers. They reached Station 41 on day 6. The slab had settled no further. Ray Mercer had died where the ceiling held him, his hand still resting on the survey book his partner had left open beside it. The inquest ruled traumatic asphyxia under a settled slab and recorded the recovery at 3 days in, 3 days out, 40 rescuers, and no fault found anywhere a rule could reach. The western lead is closed now, its last station renamed on the master survey, Mercer's Lead, surveyed to here. The deepest cave in the lower 48 still opens its gate a handful of times a year, and the survey teams that pass it still read every ceiling twice. Old breakdown is furniture. The young scars are still deciding, his teams still teach. Ray died under the one scar nobody living could have seen, 72 hours from any help. There is a small wooden bird on the master survey shelf now, the last one he carved, facing the map he did not finish.